Welcome to Insights in Sound, where we talk to the people behind the scenes, behind the technology, and behind the music. People you may not know, but you should. And please check out insightsinsound.com for a full list of our podcasts and YouTube series.
And big thanks to our sponsors, Mackie, Roland, Mojave Audio, Ozbot.
I'm here with Mick Guzauski, mix engineer extraordinaire. Well, your discography kind of reads like a very, very eclectic playlist, I would say. We have Daft Punk, Leanne Rimes, Eric Clapton, Talking Heads, Prince, Herb Alpert. I mean, really all over the musical map. So let's start with your humble beginnings. You're a kid from Rochester.
Yeah.
Rochester, New York.
Rochester, New York.
And as I understand it, you owe your early career to Chuck Mangione.
Yes. Well, partially, yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, could I start with before that? Because
Start at the very beginning.
At the very beginning.
I was born the poor child of farmers. Whatever you want to say, man.
Now, I started doing this when I was in high school. My first job was at a hi-fi store, Bob Hyatt's Stereo Center in Rochester.
I love it.
And I was, interested in sound, hi-fi music. It was a great place to work for a kid because it was a good record store. We could records,
records and hi-fi.
Yeah,
Ooh.
And records then were $2 there at the store.
Right.
And if you're an employee, you got them for $1.60.
Ooh, the holy grail, man.
Any album, they had 20,000 albums in stock. Always got the new releases.
And of course, you could sample them before they came out, right?
Yeah. And then they had hi-fi equipment, everything from I'd say the low mid tier up till the almost the real esoteric stuff. So we they had a lot of the high end stuff. There was Marantz,
right,
Altec when Altec was the thing, for horn loaded systems, and for smaller systems they had AR when AR was really on top of the game.
Right, acoustic research.
Yeah, acoustic research.
Yeah. Harman Kardon and all that stuff.
Yeah, and so it was a really good introduction to sound, and got to listen to a lot of great records. And I always wanted to make records, to record, to be an engineer. So I started a little studio in my parents' basement, and I had I used mainly home equipment, used home equipment that I'd get there and fix up and work. I had like a couple Ampex home recorders, not their pro stuff. And it was 2-track. I built a little mixer and we recorded the band on one stereo machine.
And then bounced to the other and stuff. I love it.
To overdub the vocals, that kind of stuff.
Now let me stop you for a second, because I'm fascinated by the fact that even at that stage, you wanted to be a recording engineer. I mean, how did you even know what a recording engineer was at that point?
Well, I mean, I realized that somebody had to be in charge of the sound on these records. And, I mean...
So you were a liner note junkie.
Yeah, and this was also the Beatles era, and I was, fascinated by... see, this is when I started at the hi-fi store. It was 1967. I was...
Oh, wow, okay.
So I was a sophomore in high school.
Okay.
At 15 years old. The guy who owned the store was nice, didn't mind child labor. Treated us pretty good. But,
of course.
But, anyways... and some of the records back then, I mean, I was just really fascinated by things. I was fascinated by the production of the Beatles records. I remember when the first Steppenwolf record came out.
Ooh, yeah.
What a great recording that was for its time. Punchy, clean.
Yeah. Yeah, the drums on that record were, I mean, I listened to them. In fact, that came up on a playlist for me recently, and I was really impressed with the sound of that. Yeah.
Yeah, the drum sound, guitar sound, everything, the perspective of it.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of records made then that still hold up today. And but the thing that was amazing about then is so many records had so much creativity and so many new ideas in them. It was all new then. The recording industry, the record industry, and actual multi-track record production was brand new in the 60s. Most, 8-track was new.
Right. And not to mention just the genre itself. I mean, taking chances musically and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember around that same era, the first Deep Purple album. And I was playing
With
this
Hush, right? Yeah.
Yes. And I was playing this one time in my room, and my mother walked in and she said that there was one instrumental track, and she said, "That's a classical piece." And they had adapted it for, and I was like, I mean, I was
Yeah.
floored at the
All
time,
right.
but still just thinking back, it's like, man, they took a lot more chances musically at that
Yeah.
point, I think.
Procol Harum with the box
Yeah.
beats.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Hmm.
Then there was
Exactly.
there was bands back then. New York Rock and Roll Ensemble
Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah.
back in the
Hmm.
late '60s.
Yeah.
There
Hmm.
was
Yeah. Musically speaking,
plus there was a
definitely.
lot of great R&B back then too,
Yes.
with grooves that were just unbelievable because they were played.
That's,
And a lot of the records that feel good today are samples of a couple bars of those.
It's funny. I was talking to somebody about this the other day because we were talking about a friend of mine had just recently gone to Abbey Road for the first time and seen that studio.
Yeah.
And I was talking about that studio and the if you've ever seen the original Motown room.
I've seen pictures of it.
It's what amazes me. It's really tiny. I mean, it's like the size of a two-car garage.
Hmm.
And to think, they had like 12, 14 people at a time in these rooms, and they were all, as you say, playing together live.
Yeah.
It was such a, they were grooving, and I mean, you wanted to be louder, you step forward, stuff like that. And I think the chances that they took in terms of the technology
Yeah, and
was really,
Motown was sort of unique. Well, I guess it wasn't that unique back then, but because a lot of companies did it, but the engineers built most of that equipment there.
yeah,
And
yeah, exactly.
so a
Mhm.
lot of the sonic characteristics are very unique,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the Motown equalizers, the compressors. You see the pictures of that old room; those aren't stock tape recorders. I'm sure the engineers there built the electronics for those things.
Well, it's funny. We did a panel. I chair AES in LA, and so I
Yeah.
put together these panels, and we did a panel recently on Trident.
Mm.
And I came up at Cherokee, and we were talking about the A range.
Yeah.
And I had talked to Malcolm Toft, who designed it, and he was talking about the idea that he took a lot of chances in terms of the design. He didn't do things the way that other people did it, and there was a tech who called him up once and said, your designs are really kind of unorthodox. And his response was, "You like the way it sounds?" It's like, really, in a certain sense, all of these desks, all of these consoles, all of this equipment, they were really, as you say, custom made.
Yeah.
And I think that really enhanced the character of the music so much.
Yeah.
Hmm. So you came up in this hi-fi store and you built your own studio. So you didn't have a multi-track in
No,
that
no, not at
sense.
the time, but this is the next step. About a year later,
Uh-huh.
there was a guy, his name's Bill Dangler, who lived in Rochester, and he had, I don't know if you remember, Century Records. They were like a custom label that had like individual little studios all over the country, and they made high school band records.
Oh, wow. I
Like,
love it.
like
Okay.
the guys would go out and record high school,
Like
college
marching
bands.
bands and stuff?
Yeah, just stuff for the kids to buy
Uh-huh.
at schools in the '60s.
Cool.
So,
Sounds
anyways,
lucrative.
yeah, so anyways, these guys in different cities all over would have this stuff, and my friend Bill had one of these, and I just called him up one day, said, "Hey, you're into recording. I'm trying to learn about it. Can I come over and check it out?" And so
Uh-huh.
we became friends. And he's quite a bit older than me at the time, and anyways, he went more into the industrial films, training video kind of thing,
Okay.
and he had a Scully. Remember Scully
Oh,
tape
God.
recorders? He
Yeah.
had a Scully 284-track half-inch machine.
Ooh.
And he goes, "Well, if you want to need stuff copied or dubbed or anything, if you want to do it for me, you could just this machine could live at your place."
Oh, Mick's eyes get big as
Yeah,
saucers,
no
right?
shit.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I had so I got the Scully 280. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world then with that.
Uh-huh.
And I had I built a little mix down console. I bought some old amplifier cards. I think it was from a console that Mercury Records had or something.
Uh-huh.
Data mix cards.
Wow.
And I built this. It had four inputs in it: echo return, echo send, Q send, no EQ. It was just a mixer. So it was my 4-channel to 2 echo
You were like Dr. Frankenstein,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Seriously. Wow.
mix
Okay.
down thing. And then I
Uh-huh.
got a couple of those Ampex mixers, those MX35s, like we saw in
Yep.
that rack. there.
Yep.
I
Yep.
had 2 of those, and then one of the transistorized ones. They were in like a little console next to each other in front of me.
Wow.
So I had this whole little 4-track studio in the same room. It was fun. Just recorded mostly local bands and stuff in there, and
But you were like the only facility available for the local
there,
bands,
yeah.
basically,
Well,
right?
there were a couple others, but um, they weren't into the what was then the modern kind of music. It
Uh-huh.
didn't have a, you know.
Right, right.
Um, and then I got rid of those home type Ampex machines,
Uh-huh.
which if anybody remembers what how bad the home they're known for good professional recorders, but the home
Yeah, yeah.
um, so anyways, I ended up getting a couple Revoxes for which were nice machines back then, and they were 15 hips, 2 track. So
Wow.
I actually had a real studio then. I had the Scully half-inch 4 track, and then a couple
Damn.
nice 2 tracks.
Yeah.
Um,
You were styling. I mean,
yeah,
this is like what, like late
six,
60s, early 70s?
69 when
Wow.
I started in 67 when I
Uh-huh.
worked at the hi-fi store. Then by 69 I had the Scully thing, and even better than that is the guy lent me a pair of U67s.
Ooh.
Because before that it was Sony ECM 22s and Shure 57s and
Uh-huh.
stuff. So I had some real mics, and
So you learned about mic placement early on? You learned,
yeah,
I mean,
because
really,
that was
like you,
that's the next phase of it. In
yeah,
68 and 69, Eastman School of Music, which is in Rochester, had
sure.
the first recording workshop course. It wasn't a degree course; it was a summer course, and Phil Ramone came up from New York to teach it. So I took
Oh,
that in 68 and
the
69.
legend
What an
himself.
experience that was.
I seconded a session for him once at Cherokee, and I just was amazed at I mean, not just his technical prowess,
Right.
but
He
what
was
kind of a person he
right, right.
was, you
First
know?
one, and how he dealt with people, how he dealt
Yeah,
with artists. He was
yeah.
amazing.
Hmm.
And to be around
That must have been a
that
hell of a
just
learning
brought my
experience.
interest in it. Yeah.
Sure.
Plus, he brought, well, the first year, all Eastman had was 4 tracks in their studio. The second year, in 69, they went to 8 track. They had 8 track 3M machines and a little custom console built by Suburban Sound. I guess they were a company in DC that built most of A&R's, which is Phil Studios consoles.
Uh-huh.
Um, and he brought up the 8 track safety copies of the Midnight Cowboy soundtrack, and we had Everybody's Talking by
Oh,
Nielsen to play next.
yeah.
We had he brought Valley of the Dolls soundtracks. We had Dionne Warwick stuff. Like
So this
this
was
was
your first, obviously your first exposure to 8-track too.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I only had 4 at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean that was just such a great experience. And it was in cooperation with the Arrangers Workshop at Eastman too. So I mean that was recording the Arrangers Workshop,
Hmm.
which was run by another guy named Manny Album from New York.
Uh-huh.
Came down,
Okay.
so there were really pros there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And
you got exposure really to some
yeah,
of the highly technical stuff very early
yeah,
on.
and
Uh,
back in the 60s and 70s, that was like it was an important prerequisite to this
yeah.
because you couldn't just buy equipment and have it work for that. You'd either have to build your own or repurpose things.
You had to know how to fix stuff too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and a line
Hmm.
and everything. And
Yeah.
so I had to learn that. And actually, I was going to go to school for electronics. I did go to college for a year, almost a year, and then I just said, I don't like this. I just want to record stuff. I want to hang out with musicians,
Hmm. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so
It's a
I
path a
never.
lot of us took,
Yeah,
basically.
so
Yeah.
I never finished college, and I went into this, and then at the same time, the guy I told you about before, Bill Dangler, built a studio with him and somebody else built a studio in Rochester, a bigger studio, and I joined those guys, and we got an 8 track and then 16, and
Ooh.
so we had a nice little studio there for a while, from like 71 to like, well, they were still going when I moved out. They're not there anymore, but like from 70, I moved out of Rochester in 78, so we had that studio um,
Uh-huh.
um, for that. Now, the Mangione thing, I started out, um, another friend of mine did sound, live sound for Chuck Mangione in Rochester back in the late 60s, early 70s, before he was nationally known. And I just helped out. So,
But you weren't really into live sound. You were obviously much more into
yeah,
recording.
yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Well, anyways, the second live concert he did, I brought that 4-track Scully down. I mean, this was like primitive sound reinforcement. We had
Uh-huh.
the Ampex mixers and everything, and how we
Yep.
had it set up. We had
Yep.
one mixer, 4 channels, rhythm section,
Wow.
drum, drum overhead, bass, piano, guitar.
Hey,
Four inputs, 1 track. of
that
the
was state
machine.
of the art back then,
Yeah.
man. You know.
And
Yeah.
then track 2 was the whole string section. This was a full orchestra.
Wow.
Track 3 was the whole brass and woodwind sections, and track 4 was all the solos and vocals,
So but this was all live.
all live. The album's called "Feel So Good." It sounds terrible, but it was.
In retrospect, yeah.
Yeah, but for 1969, it was. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
especially since we didn't. And it wasn't even supposed to be a record. I just thought, hey, I'm working on sound reinforcement. I'm going to bring the 4-track down and record this thing.
Just as an experiment,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. And so that became the album. Then he was with Mercury Records for a few years, who insisted on using their staff engineers. So I still was doing road sound for him. And then when he signed with A&M, I think it was in '75, he asked me, he goes, so he's going to do a full orchestra album at A&M Studios, Studio A. He goes, do you think you can handle something like this? And I didn't, no way. I didn't think I could at all. But I wasn't going to turn it down.
Right,
say
of course. Say yes,
Yeah,
man.
say
That's
yes.
been
So
that's been my motto forever.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So that got me out to L.A. I went
And
back.
to A&M Studios.
Yeah. And met a lot of people there. And
Was Shelley Yakis there yet?
no,
at
he
that
wasn't.
point?
That was before.
Okay.
Before him.
Mhm.
Henry Louis was there in Studio C producing Joni Mitchell.
Wow.
That was it. The Carpenters were doing, not the Carpenters, the Carpenters, they were building Studio D for the Carpenters
Oh
at
wow.
the time.
Okay.
It was, it wasn't, I mean, it was just under construction then.
Mhm.
One of those mix rooms, remember, I think they only have 1 or 2 now, but they had 3 mix rooms along the side where the booths in A are now.
Uh-huh.
Captain and Tennille were working on their first record in there.
So that was before Daryl built Rumbo,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. So, I mean, meeting all these people. Oh, yeah, in A, Gino Vanelli just finished. Tommy
my God.
Vaccari was engineering. I met Tommy, who's still a good friend. And,
I've been trying to get him on the show, actually. He's always so busy. He's writing
Yeah.
his memoir now and everything, you know. Yeah.
is it called? Yeah, he always said he wanted to write a book from the engineer's perspective called "Give Me a Little More of Me."
That's perfect. So you really, I mean, you got your start really early on in this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and then aside from Manjoni and other stuff, I didn't. It was when I moved to LA, which was in '78, that I started meeting people, and it was I actually Chuck Mangioni's album, his Children of Sanchez album, we mixed at Larrabee. This was when Larrabee was on Larrabee in Santa Monica.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, And I got a tech job there. I didn't have any clients as an engineer, but I knew how to fix stuff.
Uh-huh.
So
A lot of us got in that way.
yeah, so I got a tech job there, and that sort of kept me alive when I first moved to LA.
That's
Plus-
funny. I got a tech job at Cherokee when I first moved to LA. Same
yeah.
thing, you know. It's like
Yeah.
you get in any way you can because
Yeah.
you just want to be there,
Yeah,
you know, and then you end up staying there. Like you just never want to leave in a way, you know.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't stay there too long because also when I was at Larrabee, everybody was using the Keypex 1 gates.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which,
Those were
the-
interesting.
yeah. So I thought, this gate does not hold. It just attacks and then releases and doesn't do it very evenly.
Mm-hmm.
So I built a very simple gate with the idea of using a shunt FET attenuator,
Uh-huh.
and and it would pull the gate of the FET to ground when it opened, but the capacitor would have to charge back up, and it would charge quite a bit up before the FET would start turning back on again and shunt the
Oh.
input. So what happened is
Slick.
it had a logarithmic release. The release control would be on, and then it would wait and then turn off, and everybody loved that
It's very
gate.
geeky of you. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Keypex 2 did that,
Uh-huh.
but this was in '78, '79. Everybody who worked at Larrabee used this gate for a while, so that made me feel good. I liked
Yeah.
the idea of that.
Yeah.
And then
Could have started your own cottage industry
I
there.
know, and I'd made also a device a couple years later that was basically a parametric equalizer with a compressor in the pass band
Wow.
to get rid of harsh vocals like 3/4K and
Uh-huh.
female vocals. It could
Didn't Orban do something like that years later?
it was it Orban? No, Orban had the de-esser. It was
Oh, yeah, they had.
Brooks Siren did it.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, because I
But that
remember
was a
hearing
few
something.
that was a
Yeah.
few years later. But I have
People were
but I have
copying your
absolute
ideas, man.
I have absolutely no business sense, and I lose interest after I build one. So
Well, and
there
that's
we
that's
go.
part of who we are as artists, man.
Yeah,
You know, short attention span, right?
yeah,
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 I know this well.
yeah.
Hmm.
So, anyways, I was at Larrabee for a while, and then do you know Jim Fitzpatrick?
Of course,
That's from
sure.
Cherokee.
Hmm.
He went from Cherokee to Westlake,
Right,
and I knew him from he was from Syracuse, which if anybody knows
It's
New York is
right,
70 miles from
right up the
Rochester.
street, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did sound for bands, work with stuff. Then moved to New York, worked at record plant for a while, and we lost touch for a little while. And then he gives me a call. He goes, "Hey, I hear you're in town. Come on over to Westlake." So
Wow.
so I went over to Westlake on Beverly Boulevard,
Yes,
and
the original Westlake
y-
Studios. Yeah.
yeah, well, the
Hmm.
original was on Wilshire. It
Was
was a
the
mix
original?
room.
Okay, no, I didn't know that, but I
Yeah,
knew that they
Beverly was the first studio that was really yeah. The one on Wilshire was a mix room with a small overdub booth.
okay.
Um, did a lot of great records there. A lot of Van
Really, I
Halen.
didn't even know they were over
Yeah,
there.
that. So, anyways, but the one in Beverly, they had two. They had one studio then, Studio A, and they were building B.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I was there mostly hanging out, and then we went over there with Chuck Mangione because I was still working for him,
Hmm.
and it was a nice, big, comfortable room,
Right, right,
and
of
so
course.
so I went there, and then just started meeting people there.
Well, you
And
could do that in LA in
I
those
know,
days,
I know, 'cause there's
especially.
always something going on, and then
Yeah.
so I met I think this was probably in 78, 79. I met James Newton Howard there, and
Uh-huh.
he produced this album for Valerie Carter that was really good. It sounded great too. Bill Schneid mixed it.
Of course. Yeah.
Of course, it sounded good. But anyways, so I go, oh man, I love you. I love your work. I love everything. So we got to talking, and James was producing this band there called DFK Band, Dudek Finnegan Krieger. It was a
Okay.
good record too.
Wow.
Never really
Let's
did.
do that, huh?
Yeah, it was a
Mm.
good record. Never really did anything. I don't think you can get it on any of the streaming things, but it's on YouTube.
Uh,
But he produced that, and Andy Johns was engineering.
wow. Okay.
And one night Andy got double booked and he couldn't make the session. And it was a background vocal session. So James asked me if I wanted to fill in and do the session. And DFK was on Arc Records, which was Earth, Wind and Fire's label.
Uh-huh.
A division of Columbia,
Uh-huh.
and that whole crew. George Massenburg was the engineer for Earth, Wind and Fire at the time,
Hmm.
and he was part of that record company. So I figured to do this background vocal session, could make the best rough mix I can. So I didn't. So I mean, Andy went back to do the record and everything, but Massenburg heard my mix, and they called me up to the label's office, and I started getting work from that label. That's how I started in L.A. It was
Well, and that's how that's the thing about LA and the industry in general back then
yeah,
was, and especially because you had multiple studios going at the same time. You had a
yeah,
lounge, you ran into people in these
right,
places, unlike these days where everything is kind of in people's houses,
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. That's interesting. So you really, I mean, you not only got a lot of gigs, but you got a lot of very diversified gigs
right.
musically.
And that was the thing I liked because um, I like pretty much every style of music as long as it's done well
Yeah,
and as long
yeah.
as it's creative. And I never like to be in any one bag too long, and
Which is a problem that a lot of people have, is they get pigeonholed with
yeah.
one
Well,
thing and then
I did for a long
did
time
you?
too. Female ballads, yeah.
Oh, uh-huh.
Did a Mariah Carey record. Oh man, that's all I got for years.
Yep.
But
Yep.
but it was a great experience too.
Sure.
But I really like to do different kinds of projects.
Uh, hmm
That sort of keeps me going.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's also it challenges your chops in certain ways,
Yeah,
to like, do different instrumentation and stuff like that,
yeah, Yeah.
But so now you also came up in an era where we were going, as you said, from 8-track to 16-track to 24-track, you
Right.
know. That, I mean, how did that change things for you as it was coming up, you know?
Um,
Or
well,
did it?
it did, and um, I mean, basically gave you a lot more control in the mix.
Hmm.
Having more tracks, having more separation.
But it also gave
Um,
you more options, which could sometimes be almost, you know, almost a problem in a
yeah,
way, right?
which I mean, it was for me when I first started.
Uh-huh.
When there was just too much information and too
Yeah,
many ways to go.
yeah, yeah.
Um, the thing is, even with 24 track, if it's a complex production, it's pretty much laid out for you. I mean, you have to record how
Yes, yes.
um,
Drums, bass,
yeah, yeah,
guitars, yeah,
yeah.
all that
You
stuff.
don't you
Yeah,
don't have
yeah.
like every little sound completely separate. So I mean,
Right,
there was still, um, it wasn't doing everything in post like it is now.
right, right. Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, you still tracked for the mix in
yeah,
that
yeah,
sense. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
4 tracks for drum, or you'd sort of get an idea of what the production was going to be, talking with the producer and seeing what the whole scope of the thing was going to be, and that would sort of determine how you'd track it, how much room you'd have for the basic tracks. And
Uh-huh. Yeah.
then it got then there was when synchronizers became pretty reliable and everything. Then there'd always be 2 24 tracks. You'd have a synthy
Yeah.
track, and
Oh yeah.
um,
Yeah. And then you'd have basically 46 tracks.
yeah.
Yeah.
But with that, then you could have your master with the rhythm tracks on it,
Yeah.
and then
And then far too many
bounce.
vocal tracks
Yeah,
and
then
yeah.
then you could work on you make a stereo mix of that onto another reel and do overdubs on that, then mix them back.
Oh dear God.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Well, and that's what happened was you started getting to the point where there were really, you know, I'm a firm believer in the power of limits. You
yeah,
know, having to make certain commitments. And when that started, I think when that started changing, that changed the way you mixed, didn't it?
yeah, oh yeah,
Hmm. So, um, you came up in basically the multi-track era, and I mean, you work with a lot of different producers, a lot of really, I mean, legendary producers in a certain sense, right?
yeah.
Were you not um, were you not attracted to the idea of production yourself?
Not really. I'm not a musician. I'm not a player. I mean, I love music, and I think I have a really good feel for
Hmm.
how I should make, how to help things sound better. But um, I don't know. Uh, I never got a music education, so I don't communicate in musical technicalities. Like I
Well,
couldn't say, okay,
there are
what?
there are producers who don't. I
Oh,
mean,
I
look at
know.
like guys like Rick Rubin, for example, you know.
Yeah, I know. I know. Maybe I could have done it.
Yeah.
Too old now, but
Well, no,
um,
I'm fascinated by that because, you know, there are some people who um, they don't like the psychology part of it. You know, like I was talking recently with Clear Mountain,
yeah,
and I asked him the same question, and he said, you know, I felt like I didn't want to get into that kind of, you know, and some people really have that sort of separation of left brain, right brain in a sense, you know.
yeah. I never wanted to get into that really, but
Uh,
uh, I mean, I've had times when I wanted to, but but never really. I don't know.
uh,
It seemed to be too much of a commitment.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and you
I
really,
sort of like the idea of being on a project. Like most of the projects I worked on in the 80s and into the 90s was I'd do the basic tracking session.
hmm.
Somebody else would do most of the overdubs. Sometimes I'd do the vocal overdubs, and I'd mix it. And I really liked that arrangement because I'd
Mm,
sort of know what it was going to be before I'd get it to mix.
right, but then you get some surprises.
Yeah, then I get
Yeah,
some
yeah.
surprises,
Uh-huh.
but I didn't have to sit through days and days of synth overdubs where my only job would be put in the machine and record. So,
That's a slog. It really
yeah,
is, you know. I mean, I when I came up as a second, you know, that was one of the things that really, in certain ways, you have to build a tolerance for that, you
yeah.
know.
But I mean, that era was a good educational era for second engineers too, because I mean, you'd get to play with the mix, play with the tracks, learn
Yes.
stuff, and it would a lot of the guys who did that back then, overdubs from going from seconds to doing overdubs. I mean, it was a good education for a lot of
Yes.
people to become really good engineers in that era.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I know I learned a hell of a lot just looking over the shoulder of people, you
Yeah,
know, and really that is true. And I think um, that Well, and that kind of leads to my next question for you, which is that now, you've come up in the era where really everything has changed to the point where now, first of all, unlimited choices
Yeah.
to the point where it's maddening, where you have, 150 tracks, and comped vocals and auto-tuned everything and stuff like that. Um, how has that, how has that changed your work?
Mm.
Or has it? I mean, have you just adapted to it?
I guess it's. Mm, I've got to say, it's very seldom now that I get to work on something that really excites me because it's it was the emotion, a lot of the emotions, the imperfections. I wouldn't even call it imperfections. It was what happens during a live performance or even a partially live performance with overdubs and minimal fixing, not being able
Yeah,
to move and tune
the
and everything.
humanity of it,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, some imperfections were great,
yes,
and now everything is just, I wouldn't say everything because there still are some great records, but I mean mostly pop records, commercial records that everybody hears. I mean, it's so mechanized. I don't even listen to any of this stuff anymore.
no, it's funny. We were talking recently about this. A friend of mine and I, we were talking about that. Recently, one of the LA modern rock stations,
Hmm.
they did a mashup of about 10 or 12 songs from the current playlist, and they could literally fade from one to the other. Same tempo, same key, same,
Yeah.
everything is very uh, perfected to the point where it's not really that challenging anymore.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, I have a lot of respect for people who can comp a vocal out of, 20 or 30 different vocal tracks and make it sound human.
Yeah.
But there really is something about the contiguous performance, that I kind of miss.
Yeah. Me too. I think both in the vocals and in the track.
In the
It's
track, I mean, it's funny. I was talking to somebody, and this is quite a while ago, but they were doing a remix of the old Commodore's track Brick House.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, he said, I figured it was going to be, straight on like a drum machine, straight on the meter and everything. I just put it on the grid. He said, man, it's all over the place, and the grid had to stretch and everything because it was a human performance.
Yeah.
And I think there's something about that really is kind of missing now. It's, I mean, when you're mixing now, what kind of projects are you getting? You getting like auto-tuned vocals and
Getting a
everything?
lot of that.
Uh,
Yeah. I mean, in one extreme, you get an auto-tune vocal where it's actually just auto-tuned.
right, right.
In some cases, you get a good performance that has very little tuning, and some fixes that's great. And then sometimes you get somebody who is really deep into Melodyne,
Oh
and
yeah,
and and
yeah.
and, um, and can make it. And guys who are good at that can really make something
It,
sound
yes,
believable and good.
yes, it's true.
It
They
takes
can make it.
work.
It does. It does. I mean, and Melodyne is a completely different animal
Yeah.
than auto tune in that sense.
Yeah.
But now, okay, perfect case in point. One of the recent things that you did was the Daft Punk record.
Yeah.
Now that, in a sense, sounds like it should be completely like machine rock, basically. Like so mechanized, and yet your mix of it and the music itself, it sounds really live. It sounds almost like like a throwback to 70s disco in a
Yeah.
sense.
Well, it's played. I mean,
Uh-huh.
it's all played, but it's heavily edited.
Of course.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the tracks were ideas when they started and edited together and modified. And
Uh-huh.
those guys were great at that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, of course.
um,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of played live elements in there other than the basic tracks. So I mean,
Uh-huh.
it's sort of a hybrid kind of album.
Well, Nile Rodgers,
Yeah.
basically,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was always brilliant at
Yeah,
that, I
was
think.
Nile Rodgers. There was also Paul Jackson Jr. on
Sure.
it too.
Yeah.
Uh,
Another legend.
yeah.
Yeah.
JR, John Robinson on drums on a lot of it, Omar Hakim on a lot of it,
Hmm.
Nathan East,
Yeah.
bass.
So real
So
musicians,
great
basically.
musicians.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and um, the mechanization and the synth stuff on top of it. But those guys were just so creative with that too.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like everything was sequenced. So a lot of it was played.
Uh-huh.
Um, a lot of it was modified real sounds done through a modular synthesizer with
Ah,
a lot
okay.
of envelope followers and filters and
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and actually modifying sounds with that.
Sounds like fun,
It
actually.
was.
Sounds like
I
a
mean,
really fun project.
they did that.
Right,
I didn't.
right. But
Uh,
even mixing it, I mean,
yeah. Mixing it was
like
yeah,
pulling that up and going, what the hell's that, right?
yeah. And then they didn't want to use minimum of plugins on it. So so all the recording was done through a console or external preamps and um, mostly analog gear.
Uh-huh.
Recording was recorded to Pro Tools
Okay.
at 96K,
Uh-huh.
and then mixed to analog tape.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, so back and forth between old school and new school.
yeah. Recorded Pro Tools, then mixed to half-inch tape, and th- these guys were pretty insane about that because they wanted to mix to three different machines.
Just to hear the
Just to hear
difference?
the difference.
Oh,
So we
wow.
mixed to three. They were one was an ATR 102
Uh-huh.
half inch 30
Hmm.
eps. The other one was an ATR 102 half inch 30 eps with different heads, not the Ampex heads, but ATR made these. They called them the high flexivity heads.
Uh-huh.
That was the second machine. Then the third machine was at 15 eps half inch with the ARIA electronics,
Wow.
third party electronics. I think most of the record came off of the 30 ips with the high flexivity effect heads. I think that was pretty much everybody's favorite at the time.
That's nerdy as all hell,
Yeah.
man.
Oh, and then besides that, they checked the alignment. They had the tech at Conway check the alignment of the machine between reel changes, every reel change.
Wow.
And
Oh,
not and
man.
not just looking at the meters. They brought an audio precision in
Uh-huh. Wow.
So I
Okay.
mean, yeah. So I mean, it was meticulous. It was
Uh-huh.
very meticulous.
Uh-huh.
And then we ran a DSG backup of everything when we were mixing,
Uh-huh.
which was
Yeah.
actually my favorite.
I'll bet. Yeah. I mean, you have an interesting little setup here. It's very minimal,
Yeah,
and yet it's a lot of old school stuff,
yeah.
you know? It's
Well, a lot of the old school stuff. I mean, it's basically the Pro Tools, two HDX cards, this, which is the same as the Matrix, but before the.
I was looking at that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
It's
actually is the Matrix, which is made by DAD,
okay.
and Ava just rebadged it to make the Matrix, but I got that before
Ah,
Ava.
okay. So it's actually the same thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Interesting. Hmm. So how are you adjusting to the new reality now in terms of like the kind of work you do now? I mean, because you mentioned earlier that you're not necessarily really loving a lot of the modern music that's coming out now. Kind of work do you do now?
Um, for the last few months, none. Now I've got stuff coming up. But there's some new music, and actually been lucky to do this because I've gotten to do Janelle Monáe's last two albums,
Oh,
and
love her, and her bass player is absolutely wonderful.
what I was saying about those albums is even though they are all sequenced and everything, there's a humanness to them, and
Yeah.
they're quirky and they're
Hmm.
creative, and it's so that I enjoyed a lot.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah, you still find musicians who are
yeah,
wanting to do it like
yeah.
that, you
I
know.
mean, even though they're using all the modern technology and that kind of workflow, they're not being a slave to the workflow.
Right, which I think it's funny. I mean, if you think back to like when drum machines came out, everybody was sure it was going to replace drummers, and then who learned to do the best drum programming? Drummers,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Same thing with synth, and I think, even to a certain extent with AI now, I mean, artists who really take it and make a new tool out of it, they're the ones who are going to make it something interesting, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. So for you now, um,
Well, Well, right now, not doing anything. I'm waiting for some tracks for Janelle's next album, but
Uh-huh.
who knows when it's going to come. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah, how these
everybody's
artists
schedule.
are. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's
Mm-hmm.
pretty loose now. And then doing another project for an artist from Taiwan
Uh-huh.
named David Tao, and that's interesting because he uses it's all live players, all LA studio guys.
Oh, nice. Uh-huh.
You know, it's so it's good sounding stuff. Good,
Mm-hmm.
you know, good musicians, good music. Can't
Uh-huh.
understand a word, and it's all in Cantonese, but
Yeah. But that's kind of cool
yeah,
too, you
that's
know?
cool. But musically, it's good, and then yeah. So I mean, still getting gigs,
Uh-huh.
and truth is, 73 years old. I really don't want to work all the time anymore.
Sure.
I'm happy
Sure.
with just my little room in here. I was thinking of doing the garage into a bigger studio, but you know, I don't know. It's um, this works. I would like to have some you know some immersive audio, which this room's too small for.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, I don't know if I'm a big. And I've done some Atmos mixes, and it's
I was going to ask you about that.
um,
How you feel about that?
how I feel about it is it's a lot of fun. It's great in a room, in a good Atmos room,
Yeah.
and played back in any good Atmos room. But I don't know, the binaural renditions of it through headphones, or it's when you hear it on a good 7.1.4 system or a good
Oh, there's nothing like it. Yeah.
1.6 and compare it to how any consumer is going to hear it with soundbar or
Yeah.
anything. It's just, you know, it's dollar for dollar on a playback system. y- Um, I think a good stereo system, um, you know, with well picked components and in a good acoustic environment, is way better than putting that same amount of money into a multi-channel playback system.
Okay, that's true. Now, have you checked out this the new what is it, the Sony VME stuff?
No.
That's interesting because what they do is they map out your head.
Oh, I have. Okay, I didn't know
Yeah.
what it's called. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
VM,
put
it's a
they put
virtual mix
that
environment.
is amazing.
Yes.
That is
You know,
totally amazing. They
yeah.
put these little microphones in your ears and
Yeah.
shoot the response to your ears.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the demo at was it NAMRI? Yes, a couple of years ago, where they'd have it was a 5.1 system, Gen X,
Yep.
nice speakers,
Mm-hmm.
and they play something, and then you put the headphones on, and they play the headphones, and I swear you have to take the headphones off to see that.
Yes,
Wow,
exactly. I mean,
it
that's
was
so
it.
I think that the state of the art now is getting to the point where, I mean, you could literally be sitting in, the immersive room at Blackbird or wherever,
Yeah,
and you could bring that room into your headphones. And that I think might make a
yeah,
difference.
yeah,
It's an interesting technology. I think we are in what's that old Chinese curse about may you live in interesting times,
yeah,
It's now I think things are definitely different.
yeah. Actually, do you know the guys over at DMI, Luca?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, we should call them. I'd love to play some of the Atmos stuff over there because did the Daft Punk album in Atmos
Oh, really?
over there,
Okay.
and Janelle's last album in Atmos over there.
Okay. Oh, I'd love to
And
hear
that's a
that.
nice. Have you been in that?
Yeah, I
That's a
have. I
nice
have.
room.
I would love to hear some of that stuff. Yeah, that's I mean, there are some really pretty impressive rooms right now, definitely.
Yeah,
And the thing that I'm really impressed with the Atmos stuff is not so much, like the whole that you've got it all around you, but that you can do a lot now with height,
yeah,
and that is a separation that you never really could do with
right,
stereo,
right.
and there, I mean, man, I remember hearing some mixes in in that Massenburg room at Blackbird, and just thinking, wow, I mean, there's stuff in those mixes that I've never heard
Mm,
before on tunes that I've literally grew up on,
yeah,
because you get this separation now that you really never got before. So I think there is some future for that stuff, definitely. It's just it's so different,
yeah. I mean, I haven't heard the latest playback systems or anything, but um, I still have the opinion that it's great. It's great for movies and great for if it's going to be played back and
Yeah, yeah,
uh, in a system like that. And yeah, that Sony 360 thing too. It was pretty
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. The question is whether or not it can fold down to a stereo mix well.
Right. Yeah.
That's the thing. And some of it does, some of it doesn't.
Yeah.
And a lot of that again depends on the mixer,
Yeah.
and how it's done and everything.
Yeah. I'd love to do another Atmos project because um, I learned so much doing these too, and like there's so much post thought in it
Yeah.
afterwards that I could have done this, and
Yeah.
you, you
Yeah.
know like uh, I mean, it had to be done in a certain amount of time and everything, and
Of course.
I mean, I did take my time on it, but now I'm thinking, oh man, I could have really, with subtle delays, made bottom to top differences. Change the ceiling height,
Yes.
and
Yes. That's the stuff right there. That's the
yeah,
stuff that really impresses me.
yeah, I
I
could have,
was in Clear Mountain's room recently, just listening to some of the stuff that he had worked on. Yeah, I mean, it's just that little nuance. That's the stuff that I think is really new,
yeah, yeah,
and that's the new state of the art, I think. So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to hearing more of that stuff. Okay, so let me wrap with this question for you, especially because you came up in such a different period. What do you tell 15-year-old you coming up in this day and age?
Man, uh, I would, what would I would say? I would, I would, I would say work on what excites you, not don't work on stuff you think is bullshit. Because I mean, that's sort of it. I mean, you'd be
Yeah,
forced to, of course,
of course.
to make a living unless you're independently wealthy. But the thing is, um, aside from the job at the hi-fi store, I never had a real job.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I've always just done what I wanted. I mean, a lot of times I do things that I didn't really want to do within the framework of
Right.
what I wanted. Um, but I would say that be it. I mean, just do what you love, because that most people are good at doing what they love
Yeah.
and suck at doing what they don't.
It's true. It's true.
So I mean, whatever. I mean, modern music excites a lot of people now, and a lot of you know it resonates with a lot of people. I'm from a different era, so it doesn't so much with me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of it does if it's played and stuff. But I mean, if that's what excites you, and that's what you love. The love of it makes it. You can make it better. That's
Yeah, that's good advice. Mick Guzauski, thank you for being my guest. It's been a pleasure.
you.
Hey, I'm Daniel Keller. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and join us each week for Insights in Sound.